1 kilometre away from the site of those organisations which are protesting over various issues in our society is the red carpet. Artie Ntungana is standing by, watching MPs arrive. Artie, good afternoon to you. Who's already arrived?
A very good afternoon to you, Stephen. As you've mentioned, guests are starting to arrive. They will be walking right through this red carpet. I don't want to waste any time because they're coming certainly back to back. I'm joined by Umamu Noktawe. Thank you so much, Mamuma, for your time. Now, talk to us about your expectations.
Thank you so much, Artie, and good afternoon to the viewers at home. We are here at the State of the Nation address. We really hope that the President will be able, at least for me, to address three things. One, the issue of electricity, that is a worry for everybody in the country, which is affecting everybody, every business. But the second thing that I would want the President to address is the issue of the youth unemployment. We have a lot, our unemployment rate is sitting above 45%. We need to hear what the President, what plans does he have around the issue of the youth unemployment. But the third one is the issue of the crime. We are experiencing a lot of crime, particularly the gender-based violence and femicide. Our women and young women are dying every day, every day. Just now we are hearing about a student that has been killed by the boyfriend at the TUT in Pretoria. What is President going to say about the issue of crime, particularly the gender-based violence?
I was in the Tourism Portfolio Committee and the Minister of Tourism was there. This is an issue where the Ministry of Sport came out. Your comment on the proposed sponsorship for Tottenham Hotspurs?
Look, we would want to have an engagement with the Department of Tourism as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. So really, until that time that we have that engagement with them, I really wouldn't want to comment about it. But all I want to say is that anything that wants to promote sport in South Africa is important to us as the department. But the importance of it is that it must benefit the local teams and it must also benefit the local people of South Africa. But we are open to anything that wants to promote the sports out there and put it in the world stage.
Given the fact that the President last year spoke about the support of South Africans, he spoke about how South Africans themselves should support locally made clothing. Talk to us about who dressed you this evening.
Artie, I am wearing Bongiwe Walaza. She's a local artist from Kempton Park. She's the one that made this dress for me. I always wear her. She's one of the best in the country, actually. Bongiwe Walaza.
All right. Minister, thank you so much for your time. The Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Quickly, I do have Mr. Mandla Mandela. Your expectations this evening?
Well, we are all wanting to listen to the President, in particular on the energy crisis that we are all facing as South Africans. So we would like to gain an understanding in terms of what are the immediate steps that are going to be undertaken in this current fiscal we are in, but also in the short term, the next 3 years, what are the steps that are going to be undertaken to addressing that. We are also interested in hearing how we're going to curb the high unemployment rate that we have in the country, particularly of young people. We have as high as about 66% unemployment amongst youth. And we would like to get a firm understanding as to what is the President going to do in addressing that. We come from rural areas, and I'm particularly concerned about the plight and poverty of people living in rural communities. And we would also want to understand how is the President going to look into utilizing the lands that are located in rural communities that are lying fallow. These could be activated in creating jobs in rural communities. So it's our interest, particularly as traditional leaders, to gain an understanding what will be happening in rural communities.
Given the fact that you're so well put together, I don't see your wife here next to you. You normally have her with you. Did she have anything to do with your outfit today?
Oh, no. My wife is the specialist in the family that actually looks at our design and looks at what we wear. But since Parliament went down and we've been coming to the City Hall without our partners, And therefore, today I just took out something from the wardrobe that I got on my travels while I was in Senegal. And knowing that Senegal has recently won the Africa Cup of Nations, it is to say to the Senegalese and Africa, keep up promoting Africa.
Thank you so much for your time. You can walk off to the red carpet. Guests are starting to arrive and certainly walking the red carpet. It's pomp and ceremony this year. So we'll give you live coverage of all of the events transpiring in and around the State of the Nation address this year. Stay tuned to Newzroom Afrika.
The right to vote in free and fair election and freedom of speech, many of us now take for granted.
I know that none dare challenge me when I say I am an African.
Honorable members, withdraw from the House.
I'm a politician.
Now is the time for each one of us to say, South Africa, send me.
Let's quickly go to the other side of the precinct. Artim Tongana, good afternoon to you. First time linking up with you. Who do you have?
Well, Kali, guests, as I've mentioned before, are arriving, and they're arriving back to back. They're walking the red carpet. I have the president of the PSA just to get expectations from Dr. Mlawusi. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us on Newzroom. You said something very interesting, that, of course, public servants strike last year, and the issues that keep coming up insofar as this particular issue of wages is concerned. And you said some of the issues that were raised were not addressed by the president, even in the last State of the Nation address. Do you expect anything different this year?
To say we expect anything from the president in today's State of the Nation address will be lying to ourselves, because the president had the opportunity to address the issues that we have as public servants with the government last year. He has not responded to any of our memorandum. Instead, he sent Treasury to receive our memorandum. So today, I think it's time for him to show leadership and start addressing the plight of public servants. We don't know what he's going to say, but we expect him to touch on the salaries of public servants in his State of the Nation address, how he's going to address that. We also expect him to address the issue of many vacancies that exist now in the public servants, how the government is going to make sure that those vacancies are filled with people who are qualified, who are unemployed at the moment. That is our expectations today.
All right, for your time, I do thank you so much. I know you do have to be seated by 1:15. I'm going to ask my colleague to bring in the Minister of Home Affairs. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Aaron Motsoaledi, your expectations this evening?
Well, about the speech, I'm not privy to it. I just know that the president will speak about several issues. I definitely believe he'll speak about load shedding. There's no question. He'll leave it, and he'll also speak about the economy.
Insofar as Home Affairs?
Well, look, in Home Affairs, the main issues he announced yesterday, pardon me, yes, excuse me. The main issues he announced last year in the State of the Nation is that Home Affairs will hire 10,000 unemployed graduates in the field of IT, document management, and documentation. And we have started, by the way. We have started. Your own station interviewed me for 17 minutes last week, Thursday, when I went to welcome the first group of 2,000 of those people. As to whether the president wants to talk about it and say something, I do not know, but that's what we have already done.
All right, for your time, I do thank you so much for your time, the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. Well, we'll head straight to an ad break and come back to continue, give you rolling coverage of the State of the Nation Address 2023.
right to vote in free and fair elections and freedom of speech, many of us now take for granted.
I know that none dare challenge me when I say I am an African.
Honorable members, withdraw from the House.
I'm a politician.
Now is the time for each one of us to say, South Africa, send me.
This is the special broadcast of the State of the Nation 2023. Let's not waste any time. Take you to the red carpet. Zianda Ngobo, good afternoon to you. Who do you have with you?
Well, Chloe, I've got Matthew Parks. He speaks for COSATU here in Parliament, and I want to kick it off with this. The President is yet to reshuffle his cabinet, and you're an alliance partner. You have an input. Let's reflect firstly on whether or not this cabinet is a lean machine and fit for purpose, really.
Sure. Look, it's a good question. This cabinet is better than the cabinet the President inherited. He removed most of the most compromised persons who have been accused of real wrongdoing, such as state capture, but there are some weaknesses, and we think the President does need to consider how to strengthen the cabinet. We understand that a year before elections, you're not going to go through a brand new cabinet because you don't want to create too much instability, and it takes time for people to understand the portfolio, but there are quite a few vacancies. Number one, like transport. You can see the metro rail, which is key to getting workers on time to the jobs in the cities. That Transnet, which is key to jobs in mining and manufacturing, agriculture, are in real trouble. So there's a vacancy there. There's been a vacancy in public service and administration, and that's critical in terms of rebuilding the broken relationship between the state as an employer and between public servants like nurses and teachers, doctors and police officers, prison wardens, etc., who really feel aggrieved that government has not honored wage agreements with them, that government is giving the bill for corruption and debt balancing, etc., to them. So there are some issues there. But of course, I think for us, critical as we go into the final year of this administration is that how do you deal with the issue of energy? We can't afford 10 hours of load shedding a year. We can't afford to have ESCOM still struggling. We need to see what do we do to give support to the other state-owned enterprises. We're very, very worried about the state of local government. 10 years ago, 10% of municipalities were in financial crisis. Today is 90%. We've seen many municipalities in the Eastern Cape, in the Northwest, in the Free State, and the Northern Cape in basic collapse, not paying municipal workers for months, even for years, not providing basic services. So there's a critical crisis in local government. We've been very worried about what's been happening in tourism, because tourism is a key sector of the economy. It's still recovering from COVID-19, but we have seen many local tourism SMEs in townships, elsewhere.
Can I jump in there? Since you've mentioned tourism, you would know, the conversation around that Tottenham Hotspur deal. 1 billion, some are saying, is nothing for over 3 years for such an investment. You're talking about rebuilding this industry. Where does COSATU stand on this? Is it worth the price tag?
Look, we think we must cut out our clothes to suit to ourselves. So what are our needs? What resources do we have? For us, it is outrageous to offer 1 billion rand to a well-off English soccer team. We don't see the evidence that that's going to increase tourism. If there was evidence that it could increase tourism, provided by internationally recognized experts, sure, you could have a conversation. But there's been no evidence to that provided. There's allegations of serious corruption with regards to that deal, including my people in SA Tourism, which needs to be investigated by the law enforcement agencies. But equally, if ESCOM is asking for government to give it 2 billion rand to buy diesel to reduce load shedding, that must be our priority. We cannot have a state where we spend billions of rands on half-baked, ill-conceived ideas when we can't deal with the issue of load shedding, we can't do the issue of rebuilding a railway network, or even paying nurses a living wage. So I think for us it's a real problem. And equally, that budget was never approved by Parliament. So if they were to spend that money, it would be illegal. But in principle, we're worried about people in the state who don't have a sense of appreciation of the anger of the public towards how public taxes are spent, and they need to take that into serious account. And what we've seen over the past week is not unusual, not the first time, where a similar incident for a much smaller amount of 22 million rand a year ago, when the Ministry of Arts and Culture wanted to spend that on a 60-meter flag, which made no sense. So we think government leaders need to be much more appreciative. This is workers' monies. It must be given to growing the economy, not spent on vanity projects, let alone given to very dubious, corrupt opportunities.
All right, Matthew Parks, he speaks for COSATU here in Parliament. Let's take you back to Xoli Mngambi, who I believe is standing by with the Minister of Labour, Thula Singlesi, and you'll know that he wears many hats, Xoli. He too might have something to say about the state of energy and perhaps that Tottenham Hotspur deal, isn't it?
I want to link you to the red carpet now. Atim Tongana, you with the Deputy Minister of State Security, Zizugodo.
He's been standing by, and I'm going to bring him into shot so he can talk to us about the security around, the State of the Nation address, given everything that has been said in the public domain. We know the Minister of Police has addressed the issue of security, but from your side, what can you tell us?
Well, we are satisfied of the work that has been done by the net joints. As you know, the preparations toward this event does not only start today. Since the beginning or the end of last year, we have been working with now that the precinct of Parliament is no longer inside Parliament, it's outside. We are satisfied of different agencies that have worked together to make sure that everybody who is here is safe, but also not to undermine the work that law enforcement agencies must do to make sure that South Africans outside of this event remain safe.
I know you have just arrived and you'll probably want to step into the chamber, but I do want to talk about this shirt. It's giving me Nelson Mandela. Is it inspired by the statement that was made by the president last year about supporting local made clothing?
What inspired me about this shirt is a moment that has been declared by the governing party, a moment of a decisive year. And it's important that only Madiba in 1994, among others, has inspired us of his character of a decisive leadership. And therefore, I thought going back to Madiba would inspire me. And I think the challenges that are facing the country require a decisive leadership that must wear this T-shirt. This is a local T-shirt.
All right, thank you so much for your time, the Deputy Minister of State Security. I've got the Minister of Public Works, Patricia de Lille. Thank you for your time. Your expectations this evening?
My expectation is that we need to see more urgency. Implementation. We are testing the patience of our people. And I would like to hear with the plans that the President implement, that there is clear targets and accountability so that we deliver on the commitments that he is making tonight. And also that, he must make announcements that can bring some hope. Our country is in a bad space and people are very despondent. So I really hope that the State of the Nation address will at least lift the spirits of the country tonight.
Your department plays a crucial role in the rebuilding of Parliament after that fire and the compiling of that report. What can you tell us, given the fact that South Africans are asking themselves, why are we still at the Cape Town City Hall? Why is Parliament still not rebuilt?
Well, last year, September already, the complete plans were made public. We reported to the Standing Committee of Parliament. Thereafter, in October, the Minister of Finance made 2.2 billion rand available. And where we are now is that we need to go into the procurement stage, and we will start with the old assembly. That will take about 18 months, but at the same time also start with the National Assembly that will take about another 20 months or so. So it's all work in progress.
Thank you so much for your time. I have Mr. April. Thank you so much for your time, Minister. You can continue walking the red carpet. I see another member of Parliament who's walking barefoot. I don't know if my colleague is going to be able to zoom in. And perhaps Mr. April, talk to us about what inspired you walking barefoot on the red carpet.
The reason why I'm barefoot on the red carpet today is because there's thousands of children in South Africa who goes to school every day barefoot. And I'm walking in a cause for those children that goes barefoot. Secondly, the reason why I'm walking barefoot is because I'm a Khoi man, and I'm walking in remembrance of my tribe, the Khoi.
Does that mean that this is locally made?
This is locally made, everything from bottom to top.
All right, thank you so much for your time. The FF Plus is also arriving. Thank you, Mr. April and ANC MP. I'm going to bring in the FF Plus. Thank you for your time. Your expectations this evening?
Well, promises, but no action. And we're going to hear what wonderful government the ANC is. with the election next year, but that's a farce because that's a problem of the president. He makes promises, but nothing gets real, and there's nothing in the reality. What we want is to have clear plans and also an implementation plan of that. Unfortunately, the president is a lame duck. He acts in the best interest of the ANC, but not in the best interest of South Africa.
It would be remiss of me not to compliment your lovely looking partner next to you. I'd like to ask, who made this dress? It looks absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. It's Elmarie US de Couture from Clark Store.
So that means it's locally made?
Yes, that's local.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Peter Groenewald from the FF Plus. They're going to walk through the red carpet with the rest of the delegates that are now arriving from various political parties. These are some of the MPs from the FF Plus and other guests that have been invited. Just a reminder that the chamber this evening will accommodate about 400 members of parliament, both from the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly, including about 200, just over 200 guests that have also been invited, including the...
Very much for your time. I'll ask you to sit there for a moment while I link back to Artie Mtongana. Artie, you are on the red carpet. Who else do you have?
Arriving in Parliament, I have Newzroom from the African Transformation Movement. I know you have been very strong as an opposition in the National Assembly. I'm sure you have a lot of criticism that's going to come out, but what key area do you want the President to focus on?
Artie, this is the 7th time the President is delivering a SONA. For 6 times he's delivered promises and has not fulfilled any of those promises. If you can check his track record from 2018 when he became president versus now, you look at unemployment, it has gone up, crime has gone up, the cost of living has gone up, the state of decay in our SOEs has gone down. If you can look at his entire performance, there's nothing to look toward to. Therefore, it cannot be business as usual. We can't be coming here as MPs, sitting, listening to someone that is clearly out of touch with people's realities, someone who's proven himself over and over again that he is a liar. Therefore, it is for that reason why we need to hold him accountable today. So we're not expecting anything because he's clearly failed.
On a lighter note, I see you have made an effort to look good this evening. Who are you dressed, given the fact that there is that push, of course, to support locally made clothing?
All of my clothes are always designed and produced by a local, suppliers. This one was made by Uzinhle Poswa, all the way from Queenstown, but currently resides in Durban.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Newzroom. I'm going to bring in an ANC MP, Mr. Buti Manamela. You're live in Newzroom. Can you please stand on the red carpet? This year's pomp and ceremony. The opposition is criticizing your president and, of course, the president of the country. But what criticism would you put on the table, even as someone within the ranks of the ANC, given the challenges that this country is facing?
Well, I mean, I think we've realized that, over the last few years, there are certain things that we, could have done differently, but also, that there are certain things that we should be able to amplify, which has been happening quite well. Just this year, for instance, there's been exponential increase in the number of students who are admitting at university funded through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. And I know that there's a lot of students and a lot of parents who are still a bit anxious about, the challenges of being told whether they're going to be funded or not. And I really want to send a message to them that, they should be settled. The minister tomorrow is meeting with the NSFAS. And, from there, we think that there should be progress that is being announced. But as is now, a significant number of students have now received confirmation that they will be funded by the NSFAS. So that's part of the story that we believe the president needs to be amplifying on. And of course, I suppose everybody, is awaiting to hear what's going to be done with, keeping the lights on, what's going to be done, especially especially with those young people who are skilled, who have qualifications, but who are unemployed because of a depressed economy. So those are some of the things that has to be agent on the agenda today. And we're hoping to hear from that. And anybody who plans to disrupt the president from telling us what we're going to do, we think they'll be doing injustice to this country.
I don't want to be biased. I've been asking the ladies who dressed them. So who dressed you this evening? And is it local?
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
He won't go into that, but I hope the Premier of the Western Cape will go into who dressed you, because you do certainly look dapper, Premier. But before that, let's talk about the issues that are facing the country. And of course, you are in the opposition.
Yeah, actually, I'm in a dark seat tonight because, I think our country is in deep, deep trouble. And we really need some clarity, real clarity and urgency, real detail on this energy crisis. It is causing such depression across our country, but it is also creating a space where small businesses are not able to operate once again. We've felt the brunt of a pandemic and long lockdowns, and now suddenly we're back into the space where you can't operate your business because the lights aren't on, and there's vagueness. I've actually already written to the president to say I need clarity, not just a presentation from Eskom. I need to know how many megawatts on what date and who's going to deliver it, because if we don't have that clarity, we don't know what else to invest in. I also think that municipalities, like Treasury has given Cape Town the opportunity to buy power from independent power producers and citizens, they should actually give a blanket go-ahead to all municipalities in good standing and say, you can go ahead. We need that kind of decisive decision right now around energy. And of course, for me, I'm always passionate about safety. We've got to make sure that we're looking at a new model of safety. And quite frankly, we're still absolutely convinced we need devolution of power. We need a new model. We can't carry on every quarter when the crime stats come out that murder goes up, violent crime goes up, GBV goes up. All the indicators keep going up and no one wants to change it. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. I want to hear those decisive, strong commitments. Otherwise, next year, the citizens must speak.
Is your suit locally made?
No, it's not, unfortunately. I had to get a black one, so I had a tuxedo. This is actually my tuxedo. I didn't go out and buy one, unfortunately. I didn't have time today.
Thank you so much for your time, the Premier of the Western Cape. I'm going to quickly doorstop the leader of the UDM. He is also a member of Parliament. Your expectations this evening?
Well, we expect that the president at least must give a direction, especially on the issue of the economy, which is not producing anything. We cannot rely on borrowing monies all over the world, whereas we don't have money to service that debt. At the end of the day, we are going to be taxed as we are already being taxed, even for the electricity.
Thank you so much for your time. Those are the expectations of the UDM, Bantu Holomisa. And of course, I'm just going to move out of shot to give you a sense of what is currently taking place and how the red carpet is actually looking this evening. Parliament has gone as far as to put up something along the lines of #SONA 2023. This is where members of Parliament and delegates are walking through, of course, marking this year's State of the Nation address, which will be addressed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Kholi, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Atim Tongana. Very, very busy this hour as members of Parliament start filing in, and we are edging ever so close to that hour of 7 o'clock. But preceding that, you're going to see the Deputy President arriving before the President does arrive. And I'm deliberately touching on the Deputy President because I just saw the Premier of the Free State Province. All right, I'm told to keep it brief because Zianda is also on the red carpet. Zianda, who do you have with you?
Well, Kholi, I'm actually going to edge closer to the police minister. That's one Bheki Cele standing in the queue on the red carpet, of course. We're going to ask you to just perhaps tell us, you had a briefing earlier on, no smiling with criminals. But the president's obviously going to also need to make good on his promise of giving you those tens of thousands of boots on the ground.
But don't act as if you were not there when we passed 10,000 police last year after the State of the Nation. President said
I will increase the young blood, the new training and all that. Indeed, he kept that promise. It does look like it's going to give us more. And those figures will help us with an understanding, Mangnobo, that the year 2010 we had 196,000 police with a 50 million population of South Africa. Today we're 176, 20,000 down with the 63. One of the main principles of policing is to have the visibility. And those police will help us. We enlist them on the streets, we enlist them in the police station so that they are able to respond. But we'll also train them further to be able to deal with the special cases like the violent crime, organized crime, GBV and F. So it will help us to have that big pool. And but we'll also work with communities, which is a big part of fighting crime, but also work with other sister departments. For instance, I went to the meeting in Hanover at 11. There were more school kids in the meeting than parents. If those kids are at school, gangsters won't work on them, and parents must help us to keep them at school. So it will help.
What else do you need, Minister? South Africans still don't feel safe. Visibility is one aspect, but strategy, what is the immediate thing that needs to happen now? Because basically South Africans are saying crime is on the rise and it doesn't seem like it's going to be dealt with anytime soon.
I want to say, as we speak now, we are 40,000, we're 40% overpopulated prisons, which means police do arrest. Among those, there are 15 to 20,000 people that are doing life, which tells you that police, they do their work, doing good investigation, judges and magistrates send them. So, as I've said to you, it's across the board. There are other things, Mangnobo, that will have to be fixed. The question of unemployment will have to be fixed. The social cohesion, the social issues will have to be fixed. People to be at school, people to be at work, people have better life, better houses, so that you don't throw them in the mjondolo that are all over and all that kind of thing. But working together with the communities, one thing that we are working is that we are trying to get resources to involve more communities. And once we work with communities, and where we are working better with communities, indeed we have seen the reduction of crime and better outcomes. We'll have to continue doing that.
Very quickly, Minister, there was a statement released by the EFF saying that there was a direct brief that you gave to the Secretary General Marshal Dlamini that his life is under threat and that there's a plot to assassinate him by senior IFP leaders. Did you give such a brief to the EFF leadership?
I've answered this question earlier on. I gave the context, Mangnobo, to say on the 30th of January, I received the information from Nongoma to say they are going to vote to change the government there, the local government. So there were threats. They requested the extra police and all that. On the 4th of this month, I was briefed to say there is a rising political temperature in KZN among the 4 organizations. And then I phoned the leadership. I phoned 3, the ANC, the EFF, and the IFP. And say, can we come together and we speak so that we are able to prevent those things happening? In that information, I did not have information about individuals being assassinated by individuals. So I could not have then briefed anybody about information that I don't have.
All right.
But now, information is there, we'll have to investigate.
Thank you very much. That's Police Minister Bheki Cele. Let's take you straight to Ati Mtongana. She's standing by with Dr. Zweli Mkhize. Ati?
No, I don't have any comments to make. At the end of the day, that thing has to be processed by the head office and the parliament, and so we'll see how that is being processed. I don't have any comments.
Right, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Zweli Mkhize walking into the chamber. I'm going to ask my colleague to pan and show you the movement around here as we urge closer and closer to that moment where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be addressing the nation. We see there are more members of parliament arriving, as well as ministers and delegates, but we'll continue to keep you updated as they arrive. Koli?
Thank you very much, my colleagues. Ati Mtongana alongside Zianda Ngobo, keeping us updated and indeed talking to some of the members of parliament as they make their way inside the chamber.